Hi, I'm here with another Emerald Squad video. This is April Fool's today, but this is not an April Fool's video. Like last year, I'm just making a real video. I don't feel the need to make a joke video. I don't know why I keep doing these on April Fool's Day, but you're just gonna deal with it. You can probably hear from my voice, I am sick. I'm very sick. Well, I was very sick, I'm coming off of it, but you can definitely still hear it in my voice. Please just deal with it. And another thing you'll immediately notice, the avatar I had last video, gone. Don't really want to talk about why, don't ask about it. Enjoy the sound of my voice with no beautiful woman accompanying it. You can imagine my beauty. I am here today to talk about the plans for Emerald Squad and the Harmony game that I said I would work on. First of all, before I begin official work on that game, I am going to make one final update for the current demo that's going on, and a lot of the changes you're going to be seeing are for that. Once all these changes are done, once that demo is out, I will immediately shift focus to the Harmony game. And later on, I'll talk more about my plans for that, and some plans that will also be coming to the main Emerald Squad, but let's get into what I've done, what I've been doing, because I've been doing a lot of stuff. I've been making a lot of changes ever since that video, and you'll see them in the background too. First of all, you already saw it, Harmony rolls now. She goes so fast. She is not the fastest character anymore, because other characters are getting their dashes now, but she's definitely the second fastest. The gimmick of Harmony and her dash is that while it has a cooldown, if you're in the air, she will keep the momentum and bypass the cooldown, as long as you stay in the air long enough. So you can just keep that going, keep that speed, and roll and roll and roll. But that's old news. You've already seen Harmony rolling around at the speed of sound. You want new stuff. But first off, here's Peril. This guy. You see him? He's the first of the bosses that I decided to revamp. Well, I decided to revamp all of them, but he's the first boss I revamped. Because he's my favorite, I'm biased. I wanted to make the bosses less predictable but still fair. They have more attacks that are dependent on things like health, player position, or even just random. But even the random attacks, you can still tell what they're doing before they do it. So it's not just unfair, they're not going to blindside you or anything. And they have a pattern. It's not going to be so annoying to fight them. You can see some of his attacks right there. He's definitely a bit harder, but because the characters are getting buffed as well, I think it should balance out. Now right here, you can see a test stage that I've made. There are a few test stages in the game, and I will probably have some way to play them in the official game, just because I've done these layouts and I don't want to put them to waste. But this stage was specifically to test giving Harmony her own game and what new layout options are opened up to me when I don't have to make sure every character can go through the stage. When it's just Harmony and her rolling, I can make some much trickier platforming that requires more precision, more speed, bigger jumps, wider gaps. And also for this stage, there is some ice physics, and this is coming to the main Emerald Squad too, these ice physics where once you walk on them, you slide for a little bit. In the Red Castle stage, there is a lot of ice, and there's story reason for why there's ice all over in that castle. It's not just video game logic for ice being there, there's story for the ice. So these ice physics will actually affect the main game as well. In addition to ice physics, there's also some ice hazards. These are mostly repurposed attacks from Peril being turned into stage obstacles, but I think it works. It fits the stage. Potion changes. I got a lot of complaints about the enemies, and specifically that you could just walk over them. I've done more changes to the enemies, which I'll mention after this. But the way I've changed the potions is one of the things that I've done to mitigate it. There are now 4 types of potions, health potion aside. Jump boost potion, slow falling potion, attack boost potion, and defense boost potion. And you will note 2 of them aid you in platforming, and 2 of them aid you in combat. Before, you could get potions for both of these things from either in the stage or from enemies. But now, if you want potions that will make combat easier, you have to explore and platform through the stage, because that's the only place you will find them. And if you want potions that will help you platform and go through the stage, you need to fight enemies. They will only drop from enemies and not be found in the stage. There are a few exceptions to these, specifically in places where I designed stage layouts for a potion that you wouldn't be able to get in that way anymore. And there will be a few other instances later in the game where the rule is broken, but those are exceptions. So essentially, to get help in one area of the game, you need to engage in the other. So if you want to get platforming boosting potions, you can't just jump over the enemies anymore, you have to fight them. Or you can jump over them and deal with the fact that the platforming will be a little bit harder than it could have been. As for the enemy changes, they've gotten a lot smarter. The shadow pawns, they know where you are. They are watching you. Look out your window, there's one right there. Under your bed, there's one right there. There's one on top of your head, look up. They can follow you, they know where you are, they're looking at you. They'll chase you down like menaces. The Shadow Rook is also a lot harder. You can't walk through it. It has a new projectile attack, and it more intelligently uses its shockwave. I don't know if the video I'm using the footage for is showing that. It might be using an older version. But the Shadow Rook is one I always intended to be sort of a mid-boss enemy, and you can see I placed it in the stages that way. But it ended up coming out half-baked, and I didn't know how to make it better. And I think this is a good way to fix it. The next thing I worked on was giving Celine a teleport. This is her dashing move. And now you think teleport and you're like, oh, that's gotta be overpowered. But it's not. It was overpowered. I'll show you footage of what it looked like for a while. But I did balance it. It's mutually exclusive with the double jump. When you're in the air, you get one or the other. You can either teleport or you can double jump, but you can't do both. The teleport goes very fast and lets you move vertically very easily, but the double jump allows you to go I got it mixed up. You can go horizontally, sideways very well with the teleport, and upwards vertically very well with the double jump. So it still balances out. Helios got a much bigger rebalance, way bigger. His rebalance is insane, honestly. First of all, he has a standing still dashing move. It's very fast to come out, does decent damage, and this is how he shoots fireballs now. His dashing move doesn't shoot fireballs, his standing still move shoots them now. So what happens when you have heat and you dash? Well, it does an even faster dash. And you can opt in and out of using the charged version and store heat and not accidentally use it with the wrong attack. It only uses the heat version if you're holding down. If you hold the down arrow, the same way you charge heat while standing still, if you're holding that while you attack and you have enough heat, he will use the fire version. And his reverse jump, a mechanic that confused a lot of people, it's specifically designed to make it so you can come downwards easier. It's a feature for speedrunners that casual players might not get as much use out of. I changed that so it's actually an attack. It's still the same input, but now he pulls out his spear, and if you use a heat version, he creates flame pillars, and this is his damage attack. This is how you deal damage on bosses. Before he had nothing, he just had nothing to deal with bosses. He's still not a boss killer, but he's definitely able to fight bosses, and he's very fun to fight with bosses now. And you can also see him fighting the Shadow Knight, who's gotten his own changes. Its own changes. I can't believe I misgendered the Shadow Knight. I'm very sorry, Shadow Knight. It's gotten a lot of changes. A few new attacks. Mostly RNG dependent. The enemy spawning is now a specific attack that it doesn't use 100% of the time. So you're not going to get as overwhelmed with enemies if you're not keeping up with them. But overall, the fight is still a pretty easy early game fight. I haven't buffed their health at all because these are early game bosses. They aren't supposed to last very long. I haven't gotten to King Red. as I'm making this video, but I know how I want to change him. Jade, she's got a dash. She's getting even bigger changes. Currently, you'll notice her damage is nerfed. And that is for a reason, even though you might think, oh, but she was the powerhouse character. She's supposed to have a lot of damage. You can't just take away that damage. She will have a way to deal big damage again, but it's not going to be as free. If you're just using her free with her crazy attacks, they're not going to do as much damage. You're going to have to actually work to get that big damage, but if you can pull it off, then she can take down bosses in seconds like she used to be able to. It won't be easy though. Her dash is probably more limited than the other characters because she cannot jump out of it whatsoever. You can't bypass the cooldown in any way, so it's pretty much only for movement and iframe cheesing. Anne does not have her dash yet. I haven't gotten to it, but she will have one. And it'll be similar to Jade's in many respects mechanically, not visually. But it might be a bit better to compensate that she's generally worse in every area but range. That all aside, there's one more thing that's coming to both Emerald Squad and the Harmony game that you won't be seeing in that next demo, and that is giving each stage 2 acts. Because I did receive some complaints that the game will be too short. I've said that the game is going to be about 10 stages long, and a few people have said that the game will be way too short if it's only 10 stages with stages of this length. And I agree. I do think that I probably should make it bigger. I wanted to add more stages, but and there will be more stages. There's going to be more than 10 now. But I figured 3 more is not enough. But the story is pretty set in stone, and I can't justify adding more stages easily. But the 2-act stages thing, that's something that was going to be in the game. And then it got cut because I didn't want to scope creep. And I guess I'm kind of reverse. I am scope creeping. I'm going back on that. I'm 2-act stages. And that's something that will be coming to Harmony's game. Harmony's game will have 3 stages, 2 acts each, an extra tutorial stage, so there would be 7 acts total. 7 stages, around the length of the stages that you've seen in the demo. It's not going to be a very expensive game. The only reason I'll be charging for it at all is to keep myself afloat. You might be able to tell, this video didn't have as rigid of a script as the previous one. It was just some bullet points, and that made it a lot more rambly than the previous one. I might go back to heavier scripting next time. This was a mess. That aside, happy April Fool's Day. I might put out another video. So wait for that. Look for that. It might even be out before this one, depending on if I get bored of editing this one. But goodbye.